My name is Emma, and I've lived in this town my whole life. It's quiet here. People know your name, your family, your dog, and even what kind of coffee you like. Change doesn't happen often. When it does, everyone talks about it. That's why, the day a stranger walked into town, I noticed right away. He was tall, strong-looking, with tired eyes. He didn't say much, just walked down Main Street like he'd been there 100 times before. I watched him from the bakery window as he paused outside the old barber shop. His hand touched the glass gently, like he remembered something. But when Mr. Carson, the barber, came out to greet him, his smile faded. There was no recognition in his eyes. Same thing happened at the diner. Miss Judy asked if he was looking for someone, but he just said, "No ma'am, just passing through." Still, he kept glancing around like the place was full of memories. Something about him tugged at my heart. There was something so familiar, like a face from a dream, but no one else seemed to see it. Some people said he was just a lost traveler. Others said he was confused. But me, I couldn't stop thinking about him. And everything changed the moment he opened his mouth and said one thing. He walked with a quiet confidence, like someone who belonged but had been gone too long. His boots were dusty, his jacket worn, and his face, there was something about it. The way his eyes moved, scanning each building, each corner, like he was searching for pieces of a life he once lived. People noticed. Of course they did. In a town this small, a new face doesn't slip by unnoticed. Especially one that feels old somehow. Like a memory trying to step back into reality. Mrs. Green leaned in close to me at the grocery store and whispered, "He looks like someone I used to know, but I just can't place him." Across the street, the Henderson twins peeked through the window of their dad's hardware store, nudging each other and guessing who he might be. A cousin? A long-lost uncle? Maybe someone famous hiding out? He didn't speak much, just kept moving. He stopped at the diner, stood outside for a long time before stepping in. Sat in the booth near the window, like he'd sat there before. Judy, the waitress, served him with a polite smile, but no spark of recognition. He smiled back, said thank you softly. That was it. Then he wandered down the street and stood outside the old school. The building's been shut for years, but he just stood there, staring at the cracked brick, like he could still hear laughter inside. Like he was remembering something no one else could see. Next was the park, the swing set, the bench near the pond. He sat there a long time. Kids ran past him, giggling, chasing each other, but he barely noticed. His eyes were far away. People started whispering more now. Who was he? Why did he seem so sure of where he was going, yet so lost? Why did none of us know him, but still feel like we should? And why did he look so heartbroken, like this place had once meant everything to him? Whoever he wasn't just passing through. You could feel it. He was home, but somehow, no one remembered him. I couldn't stop thinking about him. There was something about that man that felt like a puzzle I needed to solve. Every time I saw him, my heart beat a little faster, like he was a missing piece of my own story. I told myself maybe it was just my imagination. Maybe he looked like someone I once knew, but that person was gone now, lost to time. Still, I felt drawn to him. One afternoon, I decided to follow him. Not too close, just far enough to watch. He moved slowly, almost cautiously, like the town was unfamiliar, even though he seemed to know every step. He stopped at the old library, ran his hand along the brick wall. I saw a flicker of pain cross his face, like something inside him was breaking. At the park, he sat on the bench again. This time, I sat a little way off, pretending to read a book but really watching him. His eyes were distant, staring at nothing in particular. He seemed tired, not just from walking, but from carrying a heavy sadness. I couldn't explain. I wondered what brought him back here. Was he searching for someone, or something? I wanted to speak to him, to ask who he was, but the right words wouldn't come. Instead, I just stayed quiet, watching. There was a fragility to him, like he was holding himself together with threads that could snap any second. I felt my own chest tighten with a strange mix of hope and fear. Hope that he was connected to this place in a way I could understand. Fear that whatever brought him back was tied to a pain too deep to bear. As the sun began to set, he stood and looked out over the town from the hill by the church. His shoulders slumped, like a man carrying years of silence. And I realized, this was no ordinary stranger. There was a story here, a story that needed to be told. but would he trust me enough to tell it? As I watched him from a distance, memories flooded back. It was like time folded over itself, pulling me into the past. 10 years ago, this town was alive with excitement and pride. We had just said goodbye to one of our own, a boy named James. He was my best friend. Maybe more than that, though I never dared say it out loud. James was the kind of person who made everyone smile, who had a joke ready even on the darkest days. We grew up side by side, shared secrets under the old oak tree, and dreamed about the future. Then came the war. The whole town gathered to see him off. There was a parade with flags waving high, children throwing flowers, and tears streaming down the cheeks of mothers and fathers. I remember standing on the sidewalk, clutching a small flag, trying not to cry. James caught my eye from the back of the truck. He winked, flashing that cheeky grin that could light up the darkest night. "I'll be back," he said. "Promise." But he never came back. Weeks turned into months, months into years. We waited, prayed, hoped. The war ended. People returned, but James did not. The town slowly moved on, though no one could forget him. The empty seat at the diner, the empty desk in the school. He was a ghost in every conversation, a shadow in every corner. For years, I told myself he was gone, lost somewhere far away, a hero who gave everything. But now, watching this stranger move through town, I couldn't shake the feeling it was him. Could James really be here, standing in front of me? It felt impossible. And yet, that sadness in his eyes, the way he touched places like they held pieces of his soul, it was too real to ignore. I wanted to believe. But what if it was just wishful thinking? What if the boy I loved was truly gone? Still, something deep inside me held on to hope. Because if this was James, if he had come back after all these years, then maybe, just maybe, we could find a way to heal. Days passed, and the stranger stayed in town, moving quietly but with purpose. He started asking questions, names that only someone from here would know. People like Mr. Carson, Miss Judy, even the Henderson twins. At first, the questions seemed innocent, like someone trying to reconnect. But the way he said the names, slowly, carefully, as if testing if they sounded right, made the townspeople uneasy. Whispers spread. Who is he really? Why does he know so much, but so little? One afternoon, I saw him stand in front of a small house on Elm Street. The windows were broken, paint peeling, and the garden was overgrown with weeds. This was his childhood home, though now it looked more like a ghost than a place to live. He didn't knock. He just pushed open the door and stepped inside. I followed, careful to stay out of sight. The air inside was thick with dust and silence. Old photographs lay scattered on the floor, and the faint smell of mothballs and memories hung heavy. He ran his hand along the walls, his fingers trembling. Then he dropped to his knees and pulled something from under the floorboard, a faded, worn-out baseball glove. His eyes filled with tears. It was a small moment, but I saw it clear as day. This place held pieces of his past, pieces that were more than just memories. Something about the house felt wrong though, like time had stopped here long ago, and no one had been brave enough to come back. The air grew colder, and I felt a shiver run down my spine. The townspeople grew more suspicious. Some avoided him, crossing the street, or closing their doors. Others whispered dark rumors, but I couldn't turn away. There was a truth hiding beneath his silence, beneath his sadness. And I started to believe what I had refused to accept before. This stranger was James, the boy who left for war all those years ago. The boy I thought I had lost forever. I couldn't keep watching from the shadows any longer. That evening, as the sun dipped low and painted the sky with soft oranges and pinks, I found myself walking toward him. He was sitting on the old wooden bench by the park, the same one we used to share as kids, the one where he told me his secrets, and I told him mine. My heart pounded in my chest, a mix of fear and hope. "James," I whispered, barely daring to speak the name. He looked up, startled. For a moment, his eyes searched mine, as if trying to place a forgotten face. "I don't know," he said softly. "Who are you?" I swallowed hard. "It's me, Emma, from school. We grew up here together." His gaze held mine longer now. Then slowly, his lips curved into the faintest smile. But something was still missing. The connection wasn't there, not yet. I needed him to remember, to believe. So I reached into my pocket and pulled out a small worn-out rock. "Do you remember this?" I asked, holding it out. His eyes flickered. That's the wishing stone. We had found it together, when we were 10. We promised that no matter where life took us, we'd come back here and make a wish on it. Then he looked at me, really looked, and he said something, a phrase, so simple, so familiar, that it broke the walls between us. Promise me, Emma, we'll never forget. Those words, spoken in his quiet voice, hit me like a wave. I felt tears well up, because I knew he was the same boy who had stood beside me under the old oak tree, who had made those promises, who had left and never returned. The memories came rushing back, unstoppable. The summer days when we ran barefoot through the fields. The time he tripped and scraped his knee, and I held his hand until the pain went away. The night he told me, with a shy smile, that I was the bravest person he knew. All of it, everything we had shared. He was back. And somehow, in that one moment, the years melted away. I reached out and took his hand. It was warm, real. James, I said, my voice shaking, it's really you. He blinked, a tear slipping down his cheek. I'm home. We sat there on the bench, hands still entwined, the quiet of the evening wrapping around us, like a gentle blanket. I waited, knowing he had a story to tell, one that had been buried deep inside him for years. He took a shaky breath, and began. It's hard to explain, he said, voice low. When I left for the war, I thought I'd come back the same. But, something happened. He paused, looking away as if the memory hurt too much. I was injured, he said finally. Badly, in a way no one could fix. The explosion, it took more than just my body. I reached out, squeezing his hand gently. My mind, it didn't work right after that. I couldn't remember who I was, my name, my family, even where I was from. It was like waking up in a place I'd never seen before. He told me about the military hospital, the long, lonely years, in and out of care, how doctors tried everything, but his memories stayed locked away. For a long time, I was just lost. Then came the hardest part. Only recently, he said, eyes searching mine, things started to come back. Little pieces, faces, places, sounds, a laugh, a touch. He looked down at our hands. That's why I came back here. I didn't know if this town was still here, if anyone was, but something inside me said I had to try. I felt tears slip down my cheeks. The boy I loved had been trapped in silence and shadows for so long. James, I whispered, you found your way back. He nodded, voice cracking. I'm trying. Every day is a battle to remember who I am. But being here, with you, it's like a light in the dark. The pain in his eyes was real. The struggle was real, but so was the hope. For the first time in years, he wasn't alone. We sat together until the stars filled the sky, holding on to the promise that no matter what came next, we would face it together. Even though I knew the truth, not everyone in town did. Rumors started swirling almost immediately. Some people whispered that he was lying, that he made up the whole story to get attention, or worse, to take advantage of our kindness. Others said he was confused, maybe even crazy. They saw a broken man, grasping at shadows, desperate for a place to belong. At the diner, Judy barely looked at him anymore. Mr. Carson avoided eye contact. The Henderson twins crossed the street when they saw him coming. It hurt to watch, but I couldn't turn my back on him. Not now. I believed in James. I believed in the boy I remembered and the man trying to find his way back. So I started helping him piece things together. We went through old photographs I had saved, school pictures, birthday parties, family gatherings. Each image sparked a flicker of recognition in his eyes. We walked the streets, visiting places he remembered or wanted to remember. Slowly, day by day, fragments began to come back. The way he smiled when he saw the baseball field. The way his hand instinctively reached for the keys to the old church where he used to volunteer. It wasn't easy. Some days, his confusion overwhelmed him. Other days, the memories hurt too much. But through it all, I stayed by his side, because sometimes the hardest battles are the ones fought within, and I wasn't going to let him fight alone. One afternoon, James and I went back to his old house, the one abandoned and forgotten. The air was heavy with dust and memories. He found an old ladder leading to the attic, hidden behind a loose panel. With trembling hands, he climbed up and started searching. After what felt like hours, he pulled down a dusty box. It was heavy, covered in cobwebs, and wrapped in an old blanket. Inside were letters, faded photographs, and something that made my heart stop. A dog tag with his full name engraved on it. James held it carefully, as if it was the most precious thing in the world. "This was mine," he whispered. Then he showed me a scar on his wrist, thin, almost invisible, but there. The same scar I remembered from when we were kids, when he fell off his bike and scraped his skin. I touched it gently, my hands shaking. The proof was undeniable. The town heard about what we found. Slowly, the whispers changed. People began to look at James differently, not as a stranger, but as one of their own. He was no longer a mystery. He was home. The weight of years lifted a little. The boy who left for war had returned, not just in body, but in spirit. And for the first time in a long time, I saw hope in his eyes. Life wasn't the same as it once was. Time had changed us, changed James. But it was a second chance, a chance to rebuild what was lost. We spent days, sharing stories, laughter and tears. Slowly, the walls around his heart softened. I saw the boy I loved, mixed with the man he had become. The town, too, began to heal. Doors opened again, smiles returned, people reached out, offering kindness and support. James found work at the community center, helping others who struggled. It wasn't the life he imagined, but it was real. It was ours. Sometimes, when the world felt heavy, we sat beneath the old oak tree, just like before, and made silent promises to keep moving forward. Our past was filled with pain, but our future held hope, because sometimes, coming home isn't just about the place. It's about finding yourself again, and finding someone who never gave up on you. If this story touched your heart, please like, comment, and subscribe. Your support means everything and helps me share more stories like this with the world. Share this video with someone who believes in second chances, because everyone deserves hope, no matter the past. And I want to hear from you. What would you do if someone you thought was gone forever suddenly came back? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you for listening and being part of this journey with me.